And now Kutztown University Athletics and KUR present to you this week's edition of the Golden Bear Beat. This weekly radio program brings to you an in-depth look at the week in sports around campus, including game highlights, player and coach interviews, and an analysis of recent sporting events. Live on campus, let's send it to our host, Adam Dobrowolski.
And good afternoon, everyone, as Adam Dobrowolski here in the KUR studios for another edition of the Golden Bear Beat. We didn't have an episode last week due to the snowstorm, so we'll make up for the last 2 weeks. We'll take a look at the 2014 baseball preview, a preview of the swimming team in the PSAC championships. That is underway as we speak now. And also a look back. I know it's been a few weeks to the 2014 Pro Football Hall of Fame class with former KU football player Andre Reed making it in. We're going to talk about the Division II football ties and where Andre Reed fits into that. So we have a packed edition here today of the Golden Bear Beat, and we'll start things off with a look at the 2014 baseball team. They begin their season tonight in the Builder Invitational at the Apprentice School in Virginia, and Kutztown looking to improve upon their season last year. 32-16. They had the fewest losses of any team in the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. But in the end, Kutztown did not make it into the NCAA regionals. In fact, Shippensburg, a team that finished 5th in the East Division, didn't even make it to the PSAC championship tournament, made it into the regionals, and made it all the way to the NCAA championship. So for Kutztown, returning 19 players from that team, 32-16 overall, 15-9 in the PSAC, and a conference that adds in a team to the East, adds in a team to the West. Kutztown seeing Lock Haven joining the East. For Kutztown, they'll have to try and make it into the top 4 in the PSAC East to make it into the championship tournament for the conference, and then hopefully make it into the NCAA regionals as the Golden Bears looking to avoid their first 4-year stretch without making it to the Division II championships, which is better known as the World Series unofficially. So Kutztown looking to get to that point this season, especially with their senior class. Before we hear from the players, we're going to hear from the head coach, as earlier this week I sat down with head coach Chris Bloom to talk about the 2014 Kutztown baseball season. Here it is.
First and foremost, Coach, if you could just talk about overall how things are looking so far in practice. I know it's been tough with constant snow and ice and all of this stuff. It's been impossible to get out and get some live practice on the field, but being able to practice at the field house and cages, how's everything looking so far?
The kids are practicing real well. They're taking the fact that we can't get outside and making the most of our practices inside, and we do have a tremendous facility. That's a huge advantage over most teams in our league and up north in the field house. So they're taking it in stride.
Overall, how has the team been able to transition from last year to this year? I know that for a lot of the players, there was a lot of outrage how the postseason process went in terms of selection, and seeing Shippensburg make what's unofficially called the Division II World Series didn't really help matters. But, what have those guys been able to do to kind of use that way things have ended as motivation? And what are some of the other guys who are, might be freshmen last year, who weren't with the team last year, doing to make their presence known this year?
Yeah, the whole way things ended last year, obviously a sour taste in our mouths, but the guys really haven't mentioned it at all. They've moved on. We're continuing to do things well in practice. They're not getting hung up on the fact of what happened last year, and I think that's a good sign that they're willing to put it behind them, continue to move forward and take care of things this year, and don't let ourselves get in that position again.
Looking at your senior class, Ricky Devlin, John Dawkins, Brandon Shimo, Carson Baker, we know what Kyle Stout can do, Corey Snyder. Just with those guys, what have they really done? Colin Holmes, obviously, as a pitcher, leading the staff, and Kyle leading the offense. What have they done to really been able to put their own thumbprint on this team? And maybe who are some of the underclassmen who really stood out leadership-wise?
Well, I think most of them, and you talk about Kyle and Colin, they're on the verge of being the first 4-year guys that haven't gone to the World Series, and I've heard them mention that. And so I think that's a driving force behind them. We all know it's tough to get to the World Series. You got to go through a lot of good teams. But if they keep these things in the back of their mind, push the other guys a little bit, work with the younger guys, work with the transfers that came in. They all understand we're here to help. It's been passed on from years past. That success kind of breeds success and what we expect here at Kutztown and where we expect to be. And they've passed that on to the younger guys and the transfers that have come in.
In terms of some of the other returning guys, obviously Brandon Martinez, what he did last year is fantastic. Getting preseason recognition this year, guys who were in line, who might be a little bit more in terms of being involved due to graduation. Guys like a Joe Peters at catcher, guys like a Travis Kreitz. I mean, those type of guys who are underclassmen, they've had experience or they've had to take the next step up. What are they doing to continue to build the depth for this team?
Well, and that goes a big part of what we do here and how I coach and our coaching philosophy. When I recruit kids, I tell them, doesn't matter if you're the first person or the 30th person. If you're on the team, you're expected to help us win. And they're going to play and they're going to get their opportunities. And what you do with those opportunities then lies within them. But they're going to get multiple chances to go out there and keep playing for us, which will help build the success down the years.
Looking at it quickly in terms of positions, and we'll start off with the arms. Who are some of the guys who are really standing out, who might play a starting role or might play a relief role? We know what Colin can do. We saw what guys did like James Rossi and Matt Swarmer as freshmen last year. Really, how's all that panning out?
Very well. I'm not afraid. Right now I think I can go 1 through 14 and I think they can go out and get outs, and that's a good place to be. Now, obviously, some have different abilities than the others. But, again, the way we coach, the way our philosophy is I'm going to do whatever I have to do at that situation in order to try and win a game. And as of right now, I don't think I'm afraid to put anyone in the game to help us take care of business.
In terms of switching things up, lefty versus righty, fastball versus off speed, do you feel like this group might be any more or less versatile than past pitching groups?
No, I think they're right on par with what we've had in the past, especially last year where we'll have a starter go 4 innings and then I can play matchup through the 3 or the 9, whichever game we're playing, a single or a doubleheader. I'm not afraid to be able to go 7, 8 deep in conference for that weekend and still be okay non-conference during the week. I think it's a real good group of pitchers we got now with a lot of depth.
Outfield-wise, returning guys with experience, we already mentioned Carson and Travis and Brandon. What Tommy Romano's done has helped out as well. Any other guys who might be stepping up, helping out in outfield?
Yeah, there's a guy came on as a walk-on named Warren Stimpson that's really making some waves in the outfield and tremendous defensively. So we're going to be able to mix and match in the outfield depending on who's pitching against us, lefties, righties, late defensive replacements, all that sort of stuff that we can do, faster runners, pinch runners, and we still can put people in as defensive replacements. So there's just a lot of versatility on the team. A lot of guys can go out there and play and get the job done for us.
Infield-wise, the biggest impact from the senior class last year is obviously Matt Allball, but you had Todd Rubendahl graduate, Brett Houck graduate. Who are some of the other guys who are really stepping into those roles, helping out, and how does the depth overall look in the infield?
Well, we're going to miss Matty's bat, obviously, and Ruby's versatility that he can catch. He can go play infield, whatever the case may be. We do got some good young catchers in there. We have a transfer that came in from Lackawanna. Brandon Cholish is really going to solidify the middle with Dawkins. And again, we got some guys that can play third, can play second. Baker has actually moved into first and playing well there. So, I like keeping guys fresh for 4 games. I don't expect any one person to be able to be at their best for 4 games during our conference. So I'm going to be using a lot of guys in the infield, catching, switching, whatever I got to do.
And it seems like just observing this team, pretty good up-close advantage last year, that they all embrace the competition. There's not too many egos that are clashing in the roster. Do you get a sense that the guys who have come in this year are feeding into that, just working together as a team, pushing each other, boosting that depth, and eventually they know that they're going to get a chance to play?
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in chemistry, probably a lot more than some other coaches, but I truly believe that if you can have one cohesive unit all going forward to the same goal, then, completing one another is more important than competing against one another. And I think they all understand that.
And one other, in my opinion, underrated aspect about the game is how players kind of know the situation. They know where to hit when certain guys are on base. They know where to field, in terms of throwing the ball, to a certain base in certain situations. How receptive has the team been to understanding and acknowledging, at least in practice, situational baseball? And what have you and the coaches done, if anything, different from previous years?
Well, we really harped on more live stuff, bunt coverages, bunt picks, doing our safety squeezes, putting them in live situations and trying to get them to understand that buying into these situations are what's going to separate us from winning and losing, basically. And bottom line is, if you don't buy into the philosophy, if you don't work on things, somebody else is going to take your spot in the batting order or out in the field.
And now, Coach, just to talk about the overall competition in terms of what's on the schedule, what's in the PSAC. Big for the conference to get Seton Hill added into the conference, and they will be a factor out in the West. But in the East, obviously, with a great top half, yourself, East Stroudsburg, Millersville, Shippensburg, Westchester, that at least can go 5 deep, if not more. What are you kind of seeing or hearing, at least, from other teams that will continue to have that expectation of a very tough conference to get wins in?
We call it 7 weeks of hell, because every conference game you play, every weekend, if you don't come to play and you're not at your best and you're not locked in, you're going to get beat. Whether it's Millersville, Bloomsburg, Lock Haven coming over, you can't take anyone for granted or think you got to win. You got to come to play every day. And now throwing the 4 private schools out west just makes it that much tougher because they have a different set of rules than the state schools to go by, and a whole lot more money and scholarship, and it just makes it a whole lot tougher to win the PSAC now, but gives you also a greater gratification when you do it.
Finally, in terms of how to start the season off, almost every year now it seems with the Builder Invitational, what are some of the things that you, the players, the coaches, are kind of just looking out for in this tournament to kind of just see overall where the team fits?
Yeah, we want to get pitchers out there. We want to get them on the mound. We want to get the young kids out there in situations that they can succeed. We want to get our hitters buying into the philosophies that we're talking about in practice. We want to get our outfielders. They don't get to see a ball, until we get down there. So that's some of the troubled spots that we go through, but we always know where we will continue to get better once spring break hits, and then we get ready for conference, and hopefully we're ready to roll.
And finally, Coach, is there any one kind of key factor that the team needs to remember mentally to be able to last through a long season?
I think the biggest one is you got to come to play every day, or you're going to end up on the short end of the stick. And we were picked 5th, which means they don't think we can make playoffs. So maybe they got a little chip on their shoulder, and we'll get to playoffs. That's our main goal. If all goes well, we'll get into regionals, and then anything can happen.
Again, that was head coach Chris Bloom of the KU baseball team as we look at the 2014 baseball preview. We'll head off to a break. When we come back on the Golden Bear Beat, we'll get the second half of our preview right here on KUR. Stay tuned. And welcome back here on the Golden Bear Beat. Adam Derwowski here in the KUR studios as we continue to take a look at the 2014 baseball preview. The Golden Bears beginning their season tonight against Lock Haven University at 6 p.m. in the Builder Invitational. You can figure out how to follow the live stats of those games at kubears.com on the baseball schedule page, and that will get you a chance to follow the Golden Bears over the next 4 days in Hampton, Virginia. But as we continue our preview, we'd like to hear from the players. And this Golden Bears team, returning 19 players from a 32-16 squad last year. They'll have some adjustments more so on offense. They lose Matt Allball to graduation. That's the key player they lose. They do return a combined batting average of .293. They were .295 as a team last year. They do return an ERA of 2.87. The team ERA last year is 3.88. So you had some promising young arms from Kutztown last year, and you still have some of the bats where Kutztown can keep things going into this 2014 season. Let's first, though, hear from some of the pitchers for the Golden Bears. The pitching staff, led by the likes of seniors Colin Holmes and Brandon Shimo. Holmes, a lefty, last year finished 5-12 in 12 appearances, including 8 starts, led the team in innings pitched with 49, had a 3.86 ERA and a 0.301 batting average against. And I talked to the lefty earlier this week and asked him about his eagerness for this 2014 season.
I'm ready to get going. I've been ready since probably not the beginning of the year, but once November hits, that's when everything starts to kick in and you start to get real ready to go.
Also of note, Brandon Shimo last year finished his season strong with a complete game 4 hitter against Mercyhurst in 9 innings, just 1 run allowed on 4 hits, a walk, a strikeout. He was efficient, getting batters out quickly. 6-2 record, 2.91 ERA over 43 and a third innings pitched. And Shimo can mix his release angles, use a wide array of pitches to keep batters off balance. I asked Brandon if things are going to change that much his senior year.
As of right now, I've been working on the same thing. I haven't really changed my style at all. I'm trying to keep the same momentum from last year. As of right now, I definitely have a chip on my shoulder from what happened last year with regionals and missing out on that. So I think in this year it's going to be the year for us.
And I also asked him what he thought personal key would be for him this year to keep that success going into his senior year.
Throwing strikes, just staying ahead of the count. As long as I do that and not think about it too much, I think I'll be good.
So those 2 players will be obviously big factors for Kutztown. You also have 2 sophomores really stood out as freshmen, and Matt Swarmer and James Rossi. Last year, Swarmer made an immediate impact, led the team in ERA 1.25, appearances with 18, batting average against with a 153 average. Swarmer, the silent assassin of the team, but I talked to Rossi, who last year allowed only 3 earned runs in 21 2/3 innings. And he is, that was Swarmer. Rossi in his first 14 games allowed just 1 earned run, finished year at the 1.74 ERA. Talk to Rossi, see some of the things that he's made adjustments from freshman year to sophomore year.
A couple of adjustments I had to make were locating spots with your pitches and also mixing up looks with the runners. A lot of guys are a lot faster and they're really a lot better at stealing bases. Also mixing in pitches, off-speed, fastballs, in and out, using the whole plate, and really trusting your catchers to know what the hitter's done throughout the game and help you out with that also.
As for Rossi, I asked about his sophomore goals for 2014.
I want to do a lot more conditioning, keep my body more in shape, especially to be able to last longer, go longer in the game. You need to have better endurance and stamina, so that helps out a lot too.
Along the way for Kutztown, they will also have Kyle Stout, who we'll hear from in a bit when we're talking about the corner infielders. But Stout will spend some time in the rotation when he's not at first base. As a junior last year, he went 1-0 with a 2.65 ERA in 7 games that included 5 starts, and he struck out 16 batters in 17 innings. The depth is strong, though, for Kutztown. You have sophomores returning in Ryan Clow and Dave King. You have a senior as well in Corey Snyder, who those 3 will be taking a more pivotal role this season. King saw the most action of the 3 last year, 3.86 ERA, batting average against .209 in 12 appearances of 11 2/3 innings. So that 209 batting average against his strongest point. He'll hope to continue that. Clow and Snyder, meanwhile, combined to allow 2 runs in 6 innings last year, and they will have a more pivotal part this year. Newcomers include Paul Pierre O'Malley, who will be fighting through a back injury, a 6'9 lefty who can really use his height to his advantage in his pitching. But you also have sophomore Eric Mal, Mike Hammerer, Zach Wasson, Matt Matricardi, Pat Flynn, and Nick Fulop, some of the names you'll be hearing in the pitching rotation this year. Moving now to the field, beginning with the middle infield. The key for the Golden Bears here, the graduation of Brett Houck and what they will do at second base. You have a transfer in Brandon Cholish, a junior from Lackawanna, who will work with Ricky Devlin and John Dawkins in that middle infield. Dawkins last year transferred from Frederick Community College, did a great job at shortstop, made 43 starts at the position, good impact, 309 batting average, second on the team at 29 RBIs, played well in the clutch, led the team with 6 multi-RBI hits, 9 multi-RBI games. And he struck out only 7 times in 157 plate appearances last season, and will look to improve on already a strong standard of avoiding the strikeouts this season. I talked to Dawkins and got his thoughts on some of the adjustments he had to make in his first year at Kutztown last year and how that is all working out for this year.
The adjustment I had to go through was the pitching as a hitter, especially. I mean, you see good pitching every weekend here in the PSAC, so I guess the pitching is one big adjustment I had to make, seeing good pitches to hit, not swinging out of the strike zone, and things like that.
And again, great job not swinging at pitches he shouldn't be swinging at with only 7 strikeouts and 157 plate appearances. But also I asked Dawkins his thoughts on the middle infield and how the team will be able to turn too.
Me, Cholish, and Devlin, I mean, their guys are good at second base. I mean, it doesn't matter who's up the middle because they're both great guys. I mean, they can field, they can turn double play. I mean, Brett was great last year. And Cholish has same things as Brett almost as well, and Ricky Devlin. And Devlin's a senior, so he has experience there at second too.
And that's all it's going to be about. Between Devlin's experience as a senior and Cholish's skill set, if it can work out, very familiar to how it worked last year between Dawkins and Houck, it's going to be very much the same thing you're going to have from last year in the middle infield. Meanwhile, to the corner infield, you lose Todd Rubendahl at third, but Ricky Garrell has stepped in well, playing some time there last year, really improving his defense in the offseason. Garrell has a .342 batting average through 2 seasons, and you look at that mark, it's 8 points shy of the top 8 in Kutztown history for a career batting average. So if Garrell can take the next level in his next 2 seasons as a batter, he might be one of the best batters for average in KU history. So he's done well hitting-wise through 2 seasons. He'll look to do that as well defensively. He is leading the way at third, and I talked to him first and foremost about the team's conditioning this season.
I think it's going to benefit us, as in we're going to be able to physically last longer, especially for the weekend series. I mean, you need to be in great shape to get through 4 games, and I think with the conditioning that we do now, we should be ready come the season.
And obviously I also want to talk to him about the rest of the infield and how everything is going to work out, not just the quarter infield, but the infield as a whole. And here's Ricky's thoughts.
Oh, it's good. We've got Cholish coming into second base. I'm staying at third this year, and we've got Drew, who can basically go anywhere, third, short, even second. And Cholish is the same. He can go to shortstop and third base too. So I think we're going to have a lot of depth in the infield, and it should work out in our favor.
The Drew that Ricky mentioned, Drew DeShong, Dan Inkle will play in factors of depth, but the first base position is going to have a lot of competition. You have Carson Baker working out there, as Coach Bloom mentioned in our first segment. Brandon Hickey will provide depth as well. Hickey last year batted .339 in 24 games, but the starter for the most part will be Kyle Stout, an all-PSAC second-team member last year. Stout led the team with 34 RBIs. That included a .433 batting average with runners in scoring position, and the two-way player hit 3 home runs and 70 RBIs thus far in his career. I talked to Kyle Stout and asked him, really, is there going to be that many adjustments he needs to make to his plate approach this season as a senior?
I feel like I'm going to get approached the same way. I mean, they sort of figured out last year at the end of the season what to do, and you just got to keep adjusting to that. So I've been working on the offseason on what they were doing to me at the end of last year.
So the depth good in the infield. We know the depth is good in pitching. In terms of the catcher role, you have Joe Peters, who's the returner, along with Clay Sebeski. Peters is more of an offensive guy. He batted .338 with 2 home runs and 14 RBIs in his first season with the Maroon and Gold. Had a slugging percentage of .438, which ranked second on the team. Sebeski does well defensively, and you'll see the same from freshman Darian Sarlot. So there's going to be a nice bit of depth there as well as part of the battery. To close things out in terms of the players and the position breakdowns in the outfield, you have Brandon Martinez returning. He has strong preseason accolades. He made the All-PSAC first team last year. This year, He is named to the American Baseball Coaches Association preseason All-American team. Last year, batted a team high 366, had 11 total extra base hits. Does well on the base paths, 19 stolen bases and 21 attempts last year. He provides range and solid defense as well, 989 fielding percentage last year. Martinez will see time at left field and center field. I talked to Martinez and asked him his thoughts on the preseason honors.
It's nice to get those accolades. I worked hard for them, but in the end, we want to see our team succeed, and that's the real important part right now.
And obviously that's going to be the focus heading in today, the team aspect, not worrying about preseason honors or preseason rankings. As Coach Bloom mentioned in the first segment, Kutztown chosen to finish 5th in the PSAC East, which means Kutztown projected right now not to make it into the PSAC tournament. A lot of these players, I'm not giving you those quotes, but they all kind of mentioned offhand to me their motivation to prove those preseason ranks wrong. But in terms of the on-the-field dynamic for Martinez, I asked him, he's been playing leadoff a lot in the lineup and overall, but that in his skill set of being a leadoff hitter, how that's going to apply to his play as a whole in 2014.
Well, as a leadoff spot, I know I need to use my speed, not only hitting but also defensive too. So I just need to use that, just get on base, steal bases, score runs, and also help out in the field too.
Beyond Martinez, you have a lot of depth here in the outfield as well. Tommy Romano is a junior this year. He started 34 games last year. He'll be primarily playing in the corner outfield positions. Travis Kreitz, the junior, as long as he can stay healthy, he's working through an off-season ankle injury. He'll play at right and give significant time. He had 5 home runs as a freshman in 2012, so we know what his bat can provide. We already know that Carson Baker and Ryan Cloud will see time at other positions, but they will factor in the outfield as returning players. But you have newcomers in Brady McNabb, who Coach Bloom believes will add a nice power. Warren Stimson, as you heard from Coach Bloom, will provide some good defense, as will freshman Dario Richardson. So there's a real good amount of potential here for this Kutztown outfield to have late-game replacements, switch things around defensively, whether it's going up against lefties or righties, pitching-wise for pinch hitters, pinch runners. The job can get done all around in terms of the outfield. But for it all to come together for Kutztown, the big thing when I talked to Coach Bloom, he mentioned about just buying into the program, and really this is not going to be a thing where it's going to be any easy games in the PSAC slate. Kutztown begins the Builder Invitational this weekend. They'll play 2 against Dominican, home and home, March 14th and 15th. Go down south during spring break week, 1 against Barton, 2 against Winston-Salem State, 2 against Virginia State. Then you have PSAC East play begin. March 22nd and 23rd, home and home doubleheaders against Westchester. Home and home doubleheaders the 28th and 29th against Mansfield. Millersville will be the one that will not be on the weekend. There'll be a Tuesday, April 1st doubleheader at North Campus Field, and then it will be 2 weeks later on a Tuesday at Millersville on April 15th, a doubleheader. But you have April 4th and 5th, home and home doubleheader against Shippensburg. 11th and 12th, home and home doubleheader against Bloomsburg. 18th and 19th, Lockhaven. 25th and 26th, East Stroudsburg. A lot of competition, and the Golden Bears will need to stay in shape, need to keep themselves mentally going game to game moving forward. Early on, though, for the season, the key factor for Kutztown getting out of this tough situation that most Pennsylvania teams have had to deal with, and that's snow outside. So Kutztown's had to practice inside for the most part. And I asked a few players their thoughts on the adjustments that are going to be needed here for Kutztown, adjusting to getting back outdoors. First, I asked pitcher Brandon Schimmo on that aspect.
I think it's going to be difficult playing on the field after not playing at all during the winter, but I think we're all so excited that once we get out there, we're just going to pick up right where we left off.
As for Kyle Stout, here's what he had to say.
The only thing that's really going to be different for our infielders is since we have the field outs and everything, we can do a full infield practice. The big thing is going to be for our outfielders, recognizing fly balls, adjusting to the wind and stuff like that, knowing if the ball's going to be over your head or not, and just basically reading a fly ball.
And all that leads up to this weekend. I asked Colin Holmes his thoughts on what the Golden Bears can learn from the Builder Invitational.
See what it takes to get ready for PSACs. play 2 PSAC teams down there, so they get a little bit of a taste of it, and then they'll kind of see the energy that we feed, and hopefully they feed off of us and contribute just as much as we're contributing.
And ultimately, one more big factor, something in the first segment that we heard from Coach Bloom was about the team chemistry, and it's more about completing each other than competing with each other. And I talked to Colin Holmes, got his thoughts on the team chemistry thus far.
Chemistry-wise, we're starting to come together. Some of the younger kids, there's still the little bumps in the road that everybody has when they first come in, but a lot of the older guys, we're on the same page when it comes to pickoffs, when it comes to who's got to be where for cuts and double plays. Everybody's where they have to be.
Again, the season begins for Kutztown today against Lock Haven in the Builder Invitational. Kutztown will also play the Newport News Apprentice School, Briarcliff, and Bloomsburg, and then there'll be a 5th and final game depending on the outcomes on Sunday. So we'll keep you updated on the 2014 baseball season as we progress this season, but best of luck to the Golden Bears as they begin their season this weekend. We're going to head off to another break here on the Golden Bear Beat, and when we return, we'll take a look at the swimming team in the PSAC championships this weekend as we hear from the head coach of the swimming team. And then also we'll talk about the 2014 Pro Football Hall of Fame as it applies to Andre Reed. All that coming back when we return on the Golden Bear Beat. Stay tuned. Adam Dobrovolsky back here in the KUR studios as we continue on the Golden Bear Beat. Looking at the KU swimming team as they are underway in a 4-day competition at the PSAC Championships. The Golden Bears are sending 5 swimmers to conclude their season. They've been working so hard this year. It concludes seniors Natalie Carr, Liz Metz, and Zoe Cianis will compete. Juniors Jess Blyler and Caitlin Davies as well. Thursday, you'll have in the 1,000 free, you'll have Metz. In the 50 free, you'll have Blyler and Davies. In the 200 individual medley, you have Carr and Cianis. And then also today, there'll be the 200 medley relay. Tomorrow will be the 200 freestyle. Metz and Davies will compete in that event. The 100-yard butterfly, Blyler and Cianis will compete there. Then you have the 200 free relay and the 400 medley relay. On Saturday, you'll have the 500 freestyle. Metz and Blyler will compete in that event, and the 200 butterfly will be Blyler and Cianis. In the 100-yard breaststroke, you'll have Natalie Carr compete there, and then you have the 800 free relay. And then finally, Sunday, you have the 1650 free with Metz competing there. You have the 100 free with Blyler, Davies, and Cianis competing. The 200-yard breaststroke with Carr competing, and then finally the 400 free relay. Yesterday, I talked to Coach Tim Flannery before the team made its travel to York, PA, as they had in a late practice last night, and they're on their way today in their competition. But I wanted to get a quick 5 minutes with Coach Flannery to get his thoughts and some updates on the team as they head into these PSAC championships. Here's the interview. Just first and foremost, just your thoughts on those who've been working all year to get to this spot, and a chance for them to really have the payoff come this weekend.
I'm confident. They've been swimming well the last couple of weeks through the taper, and I think every single person that we've got going has a terrific opportunity to get an individual point, get inside the top 16 in their events. And we're going to start tomorrow with the 2IM, and Zoe Cianis is going to be the leadoff hitter, and I think she swam great yesterday. She's feeling good now, and I'm really confident. I really am. I think we're going to have some good times, and we may have a school record or two.
Yeah, obviously it's exciting for all 5 of them, but for Zoe, for Liz, and for Natalie being seniors, anything you've noticed from them that might be a little bit different than previous years? Now they're carrying themselves, getting ready?
Yeah, the thing is they're experienced now. They know what to expect. When they go into this meet as freshmen, they really don't know what to expect. It's a big change up from their high school program, but now they've had 3 years before them. Well, Zoe, this is actually her second PSAC championship, and she's got another year left, believe it or not. We found another year of eligibility for her, so I'm happy about that. But I think they're going to be fine, but they've got a lot more confidence. They know what to expect. The same thing with Caitlin, same thing with Jess as well.
Now, you talked about at the beginning of the year how the hard work and just the endurance that Liz has was going to be a big factor for the team this year. In terms of that, how's that going to impact her individual events, her ability to have that endurance?
Well, that's the thing. It's always tricky during the taper the last couple of weeks of the season because you're bringing down the yardage. And for distance swimmers, there's kind of two schools of thought. You want to give them rest, but you also want to keep their endurance up so they can make it to the end of the meet. I think we've done everything with Liz we humanly possibly can. And I think she's ready to peak. When we look back at what we did at F&M, and she got some great times out of there, and now she's had a whole lot of training since the end of November to this point, I think she's ready to go.
Now, obviously, a tough thing for the team is having that big break during the winter. Then I believe, two meets in after.
Yeah, we had
after
2 meets.
Mowerson,
Yeah,
so.
3 meets. If we include the Mowerson meet. Well, yeah, the Mowerson meet down in Florida, and then 3 meets: Stroud Invitational, Lock Haven, and Millersville. So they're just ready to race, and they're racing every single day in practice. So, and they just want to get up and see some different faces, and they're putting the fast suits on this weekend too, which that's an instant boost to their mentality, and they're excited right now. But I think they're going to be fine.
From the competition that you've seen in those events, what's going to be the biggest challenge? Anyone that really stands out? Any school or performers?
Oh, Westchester, always. Westchester's the only fully funded Division II swim program in the conference. So they're the 800-pound gorilla. For instance, in Liz's event, her event, the 1,000 freestyle 1650, Westchester has basically stacked the deck. They got 6 of the top 8 in each one of those events. They're a very good distance program. So that's going to be something that they have to overcome. But you can't, take your eye off IUP or take your eye off of Gannon or Edinburgh and Bloomsburg. So, that's the thing. They have to squeeze up in between those big teams and get in there. So, that's a challenge every single year. 2
other things, Coach, to wrap it up. The obvious team factor getting the support down there to York and it being a multi-day event. What are some of the ways that kind of factors in where the individual performers can kind of not just pump themselves up but feel that they have the support there for that extra boost?
Oh, for the extra boost. It's just the atmosphere. That's the biggest thing. You're swimming against some, fast competition. And as I told them, you never shy away from a challenge. And you don't think going into an event, oh boy, I just want to get this over with. No, you go in there ready to go. And that's what I've been trying to prod into them for the last 4 years, especially the seniors, that you go in there and you're trying to fight. You're fighting in the morning to try to get back to the top 16 at nighttime, and you have to leave everything you have on the table in the morning. So if you get in that way, and then the goal is to go faster at night and try to move up in place. So that's what we're working towards. So, but that once you get in, you get the shave down, you get you feel a lot of excess energy, and once you get into that arena tonight, they're going to start feeling it once we get there tonight at 8.
So that again is head coach Tim Flannery as the swimming team is in day 1 of 4 today. We wish the best of luck for the swimming team in the 2014 PSAC Championships. We move forward here on the program, and we do have some sad news to relay in Kutztown football as former head coach Al Leonzi passed away at age 71 after a brief illness. Leonzi was head coach in 2 different stints with Kutztown in the 1984 season and then from 1993 to 1997. And Leonzi was the head coach for 2 Division II Hall of Famers, John Mobley, who was in the past 2 years inducted into the Division II Football Hall of Fame, and then Andre Reed, who made it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this season. So we do send our best wishes and condolences to the Kutztown football family, and of course the family and friends of Al Leonzi, who passed away yesterday morning. But we do want to couple this in with the celebration of Andre Reed making it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I know it's been 2 weeks since that announcement, nearly 3 weeks, But 2 weeks ago, we had the softball preview. Last week, when we want to take a look at the perspective of Andre Reed in the Hall of Fame as a Division II football player, well, unfortunately, that episode did not happen due to the snow closing campus. But I do want to talk a little bit about this because the importance of Division II football is very unique and special as it goes now to the NCAA. Just for a little bit of background on the NCAA, you really had a true delineation of major college football right around 1937 as it goes back to looking at the NCAA record books. So looking at the players who played in college football from 1937 and beyond, you have a few players who made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame despite starting off in terms of small schools. I mean, obviously, there's some that are now defunct that were way back when. Andy Robustelli went to Arnold College, which is now part of a Division II program in the University of Bridgeport, but it was discontinued in 1953. Emmett Thomas went to Bishop College. That is now a defunct program as it discontinued in 1987. You have a few other programs that were officially Division II before it became defunct. Maryland Eastern Shore and Hall of Famer Art Shell. That program was discontinued in 1980. And then you have Larry Allen, the offensive lineman who played for the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers, played at Sonoma State, a program that was discontinued in 1997. And then Jack Butler at St. Bonaventure. That program was discontinued in 1952. But the official delineation changing divisions or names from major college and small college to Division I, II, and III, that happened in 1973. So you look at the players who have played since 1973 who played in Division II football, and that list is a lot shorter. You look at it, a total of 10 players played in officially Division II football when they played. John Stallworth for Alabama A&M, Walter Payton and Jackie Slater for Jackson State, Fred Dean at Louisiana Tech, Shannon Sharp at Savannah State. We already mentioned Larry Allen at Sonoma State, Harry Carson at South Carolina State, and you have Darrell Green and John Randall at then Texas A&I, now known as Texas A&M University at Kingsville. So that list of 10 actually dwindles down lower when you look at teams that currently are in Division II. A lot of the football players, when they played, whether it was Division II or the college division as it was officially called before being named Division II, but more or less the Division II level, there were many who played at that level earlier than the current days, but most of those were at the historically black colleges, the HBCUs, that have now primarily moved up to the FCS level in football. Colleges like Alabama A&M with John Stallworth, Florida A&M with Bullet Bob Hayes, Grambling had 4 Hall of Famers, Jackson State had 3, you have Morgan State with 3, South Carolina State has a few, and or Morgan State actually has 4, Savannah State has 1, Tennessee State has 1. Those colleges are now at FCS. When you look at current Division II programs, there's only 5 Hall of Famers that come from those schools. Rayfield Wright played before Fort Valley State was officially a Division II school, but Rayfield Wright, the offensive lineman who made it to the Hall of Fame, Fort Valley State still in the Division II. Then you look at the trio from A&M Kingsville, which also played a bit in NAIA through the years, but you have Darrell Green, John Randall, and Gene Upshaw, and then number 5 from Kutztown University, you have Andre Reed. So it's very interesting to see the unique structure that Division II football has played. It's been a little bit more of a stepping stone for the HBCUs to move up to FCS eventually, and the college athletic scene is getting bigger and stronger financially, so eventually down the line more schools are going to move up to Division I. But it's interesting to see the schools that are currently Division II schools and the players who officially played in Division II football since 1973. How small that list is. It's a unique set of company, and for those of you who did get to see Andre Reed play football, not just at Kutztown, but with the Buffalo Bills or the Washington Redskins, it certainly is something special. And personally, growing up watching football from about age 4, I do remember Andre Reed playing, and it is kind of unique to see personally how the career trajectory has gone for myself here now at Kutztown University, where this year Andre Reed makes into the Hall of Fame, and you kind of get to relate your childhood to your current life, and your ties in to the thing you love to do, and that is follow sports, and now here be able to broadcast about sports here with Kutztown Athletics. So congratulations again to Andre Reed. Definitely a pride here for Kutztown University that he makes it in. And in terms of only 3 schools right now in Division II football, currently in Division II football, that can say they have a Pro Football Hall of Famer, I think that is quite special for Kutztown football. Well, let's wrap up the show. Let's take a rapid look around KU Athletics, as there are many things going on in the KU Athletics world, and it's getting close to March, which means we're going to be hitting the home stretch for the winter seasons. Both the men's and women's basketball teams are still looking to clinch a spot in the PSAC Championship Tournament. The KU women won against Millersville on Saturday, had a very strong performance in that victory over the Marauders, as the Golden Bears won 77-67 between Alyssa Bonenberger, Avia Campbell, and Natalia Lee. They had 54 points and 27 rebounds. Unfortunately, though, last night a loss to Lock Haven with a chance to clinch, losing 70-63. Close game, back and forth, 11 lead changes, 5 ties, but the Lady Eagles get the win, get the sweep. They're 4-10 in PSAC play. Kutztown 6-8 with 2 games left, so Kutztown needs to win 1 of 2 against Shippensburg Saturday on the Golden Bear Network. Tip-off at 1, or Wednesday at Bloomsburg, who's won 14 in a row and ranked in the top 25. That will be Wednesday at 5:30 on the Golden Bear Network. The men are also looking to clinch a spot. They've had 2 chances. Unfortunately, they've lost both of their games, as they played well offensively against Millersville on Saturday, against Lock Haven yesterday, but both losses, 94-89 to the Marauders, 91-85 to the Bald Eagles. Against the Marauders, Millersville shot 15 of 22 in the second half from the field, 23 of 31 from the line, 68.2% and 74.2% respectively. That overcomes a pair of 23-point games, including a career high for Josh Johnson, 10 of 13 from the field, 23 points. Tracy Peel, 13 of 14 from the line, 23 points, 12 rebounds. Against Lock Haven yesterday, Kutztown losing 91-85, as Lock Haven shot 59.3% in the second half, 21 of 28 from the line. Josh Johnson had a double-double, 17 points, 11 rebounds. Tracy Peel, 18 points. Fred Dukes the fourth, 15 points. Austin Ford, a career high, 11. Kutztown shooting well, over 50% in both second halves each of the last 2 games, but unfortunately defensively, Kutztown couldn't get the job done. They are 6-8. Mansfield behind them at 6-9 with 1 game left. Kutztown needs just 1 win or a Mansfield loss in their regular season finale. Saturday against Shippensburg, the Red Raiders are winless in the PSAC East. Tip-off at 3 p.m. on the Golden Bear Network, and then Wednesday at Bloomsburg, tip-off at 7:30 on the Golden Bear Network. To wrap up the rest of KU Athletics, wrestling had its senior day Monday against Shippensburg. Kutztown wins that meet. Did lose the regular season finale to East Stroudsburg, as the Golden Bears finished with the second best record in the PSAC for the season. Kutztown 11-5 in dual meets, 5-2 in the PSAC. They defeated Shippensburg 30-15, lost to East Stroudsburg 27-20. Of note, though, Big Z, Ziad Haddad, finishing this regular season undefeated with a perfect 18-0 mark in a major decision against East Stroudsburg, a pin against Shippensburg for those victories. Next up for wrestling, they'll be at the Super Region 1 Championships March 1st and 2nd, and we'll preview that coming next week. We'll also preview the 2014 lacrosse season next week. Coming up this weekend, as we look at the calendar for the Golden Bears, we talked about the doubleheaders in basketball both Saturday and Wednesday on the Golden Bear Beat, but we have here coming up swimming in the PSAC Championships, we already mentioned. Baseball, its season opening tournament in Hampton. Softball's in their second regular season tournament of the year. They're at Tusculum College for the Pioneer Classic. They'll play 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. You have indoor track and field at the Last Chance Invitational, 8 a.m. at Opaque Fieldhouse here at Kutztown University. So go check that out. That is on Saturday, as indoor track and field will be wrapping up their stuff. They had the Golden Bear Multis last week, and then they were at the Armory for the Lafayette Writer Invite. So their season will be coming to a close shortly. That wraps up this edition of the Golden Bear Beat. A reminder, coming up next week, well, it's a big episode of the Golden Bear Beat. A lot to talk about. Hopefully, we'll have a preview of 2 basketball teams in the PSAC Championship tournament. Again, they're just one step away for both teams heading into the final 2. So the chances are still good for the Golden Bears, although they didn't get the job done yesterday in 2 close losses to Lock Haven. So hopefully we'll talk about that. We will hopefully talk about another NEC meet for bowling, the indoor championships for the PSAC for track and field, the Super 1 region championships for wrestling, and also tennis will be getting back underway on the men's side. And the 2014 lacrosse previews, their season begins March 5th. So next week is going to be a jam-packed edition of the Golden Bear Beat. Until then, this is Adam Dobrovolsky signing out how we always do every Thursday at noon. Here in the KUR studios, we sign out how we always do. Go Bears, go. Next week, your jam-packed edition of the Golden Bear Beat.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of the Golden Bear Beat. Make sure to stay updated on everything involving Kutztown University athletics at KUBears.com and tune in for weekly broadcasts every Thursday at noon on KUR.